There everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Prestige Liquids. My name is Andrew, and as always it is fantastic to have you here with me again on another whiskey review video. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for joining me along my journey so far. As always, it is a pleasure having you here with me, and if you're new to the channel, then please make sure you hit the bell notification and the subscription button so that you can stay up to date with all future content. Now, in today's video, I am going to be reviewing for you the Glenlivet 12 Illicit Still. And just as a extra added bonus, we'll be doing I guess like a side-by-side comparison with the standard 12, just to see, I guess, which one I favor and which one I probably believe is better value. So while we're waiting, let's pour a little bit of this into the glass. Oh, what was that? Might as well pour the standard 12 as well. Alright, so that's ready. Okay, so a little bit of information. So obviously this is a release from the Glenlivet distillery. The Glenlivet distillery is a Speyside Scotch distillery. It is a single malt bottled at 48% ABV and also non-chill filtered. Now, I'm not too sure about coloring, but to be honest, that's not something that really bothers me all that much. To be honest, I'm kind of just glad to see that it is also non-chill filtered. Now, one step up from the standard 12 already is that the standard 12-year-old is only bottled at 40%. So in the illicit still, we are getting an extra 8%. I also believe that the standard Glenlivet is also chill filtered as well. So I guess with the illicit still, you're getting a more natural product. Yeah, so let's just compare. Anyway, I mean, that's the illicit still there. That's the standard 12. Color wise, there's not really all that much difference between the two. I would have to say that maybe the illicit still is slightly darker, probably a little bit more of a golden honey, where the standard 12 is more of a watered down honey. But it's a very close it's very close. There's not that much difference between them. So alright, let's start off the review with the 12-year-old illicit still. So on the nose, it's very tropical and floral. I'm getting lots of apple, honey, tobacco, slight oak influence. There's a bit of smoke. Now, I'm not too sure whether I am right or not, but please, if you are aware of this, please drop a comment down below. I think that the malt may be slightly peated. It does have a very faint peated note to it. I'm getting a hint of pineapple, mango. Never really had mango in a whiskey note before, so that's always a good thing. Pear. It's very grassy as well. I'm also getting quite a bit of cereal grain, so that barley influence is definitely there. A bit of sweet peanuts and cashews, touch of caramel. It's kind of like your typical bourbon cask influence notes on this. Now, as far as I'm aware, the standard 12-year-old is aged in, say, American oak and European oak. I believe that this is also the same for the illicit. Unfortunately, I haven't really been able to find too much information that's easily available, but then that also comes down to my own laziness. Very faint peppery note, but all in all, a fantastic nose. There's a lot going on, very enjoyable. It's definitely Glenlivet, you will know that for sure. Alright, let's see what we get for the standard 12-year-old nose. Wow, so big difference. This one, in comparison, is almost non-existent. Those fruity notes are a lot more subdued. So typical, similar profile to the illicit, but much lower. You really have to dig in deep for it and really try hard to find them. The one note that's probably standing out more on this one is the honey and vanilla. But again, it's very light. Almost no peppery notes at all. Definitely not getting any of the peppery spice that I was getting from the illicit still. It just has a very thin nose. Alright, let's move along. Oh, one thing that it does have is also similar grain notes, but you really got to search for it. Alright, let's go for the check the palette on the illicit still. So cheers. It's got a nice full flavor. Mouthfeel is a little bit thin, but then it does have a light syrupy texture to it. It's got a nice amount of pepper spice coming through. Apples, pears, honey. Lots of vanilla, like a vanilla cream. One thing I'm enjoying about it is that it's surprisingly, as you drink it, it's quite chewy. That texture definitely thickens up, and the mouthfeel enhances as you go along. I'm really enjoying. There's like a nice toasted barrel char coming through, a little bit smoky, a little bit peaty. There's a touch of, yep, definitely like a touch of ash that comes through. Yep. I was expecting to also get a bit of the tobacco note, but that was more so there on the nose, not so much on the palate, but it is there for a little bit. The tropical fruits, not as dominant. I'm still getting a touch of the pineapple, but I'm not getting the mango notes that I was getting before. I think I had already mentioned, definitely getting apples and pears. So your typical Speyside orchard fruits are all there, and your floral grassy notes as well. I'm also getting a bit of cashew and also macadamia. So I'll say there's quite a lot going on here. It's definitely one that you can sit and explore for quite some time. The finish is probably short to medium. It's quite sweet. I'm getting a lot of like sugar syrup notes, especially if you're familiar, I guess, with the taste of the syrup in fruit cups. It's quite surprisingly quite peachy. Also a lot of apple as well. All in all, this is just a really enjoyable experience. There's something there for everybody. It's a very approachable whiskey for beginners, and I think for more experienced drinkers, you'll be able to pick out quite a lot that's in it, and it will give you something to enjoy that you may feel is lacking from the standard 12-year-old. Alright, let's do the palette on the standard 12. So here we go. Okay, so just like on the nose, between the two, flavor is pretty much almost non-existent. I remember when I first started drinking this thinking that it was an absolutely amazing whiskey, that there was so much going on. But I guess as my journey has progressed and I've been able to try more and more whiskies, this is a lot more subdued and definitely something that's there at a very entry level. It's definitely a very entry level position for this one. Mouthfeel is almost non-existent. It is very thin. Really, the only thing that it has going for it is a touch of sweetness. So again, vanilla, but it's surprisingly creamy. It's very much a vanilla cream note, floral, touch of apples and pears. There's also a little bit of tobacco and dark chocolate, so that's something there that's a little bit different in comparison to the Illicit 12. Um, but yeah, there's not really much holding this one together. It is just a very, I don't want to say basic, but again, there's not much to it at all. It is, like, as I mentioned before, this is purely for me now just a good example of an entry level single malt. And I guess as my experience has grown, it's probably not something that I find as enjoyable as I used to. I guess if you really search for it, those floral grainy notes do start to come up, but again, you really need to look into it. Um, the finish extremely short. Again, it's pretty much just sweetness, and that's it. A bit of sugar syrup, touch of vanilla, and that's really all I'm getting at the moment. I have to say, hands down, between gun to the head, not even gun to the head, between the two of these, the Illicit Still is a major step up. You've got some great complex flavor in there, and I don't know, say, what these kind of retail for, say, in the US or the UK, but say for about $15 to $20 difference, I reckon put the money aside, go for the Illicit 12, I guess, while it's still available, and go for that one. I think it's definitely a much more enjoyable whiskey. It's more of an experience. Um, it pretty much just wipes out the the standard 12. Pretty much whatever I tried from this was completely wiped out from here, and really that's more or less just a difference of 8% ABV as well. It's the amount of flavor that I was getting in this is just so much better and much more enjoyable than the standard 12, which unfortunately I have to say I'm quite disappointed. I remember really enjoying this, but I guess maybe this is something I've got to come back to, I guess, when I haven't had anything else, and just enjoy it for what it is. Because I guess all in all, really, it's not a bad whiskey, but I guess my palate has just changed, and now I've learnt to, I guess, appreciate higher strengths. And I guess the one thing for me as well, majority of whiskeys say in the 46 to 48 ABV range. For me, it's always like that perfect sweet spot. You just get excellent balance in that range. So yep, I reckon, guys, if you come across this, definitely pick up a bottle. It's definitely worth the extra price. And yeah, that's it. That's my comparison between the two. I'm very happy to have been able to add this to the collection. I'm going to enjoy making my way through this. And yeah, that's it. I'll leave it at that. Uh, as I mentioned at the start of the video, my name is Andrew, and I'll see you all again on the next video. KIPPIS.